Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Adam Hires. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Thank you for having me on.
Taking a leap of faith, Adam Hires joined the mortgage loan industry in 2016. His desire to succeed has allowed him to become a top 1% income earner and loan originator in the U.S. Adam uses his Mortgage Talks platform to better educate individuals on the steps they should take to achieve their goals. Adam, welcome to the show. Look forward to hearing a little more about your story. Becoming part of the top 1% and almost anything is not easy, right? So look forward to hearing about that. Let's hear about how you got there, and even your Mortgage Talk platforms, how you're helping other people achieve those goals also.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me on. Got into this game about 5 years ago. Didn't know how it was going to turn out all the way. I felt like I was going to be successful. And so I just started studying and by the third month in, I was doing really well. 6 month in, I was speaking at a conference, a regional conference in front of hundreds of loan officers, how I was growing so rapidly, but it goes back to serving and having that servant mentality and just always trying to grow and be better. I think when I study or when I listen to other top performers, they all have the same commonalities, that nothing's ever good enough and there's always growth opportunities, and there's still always growth opportunities now. And that's why I went from Kentucky, where I actually was living for 20 years, and 3 months ago came to Georgia and said, hey, I'm going to do 150 loans in a new state with no contacts. And so I'm actually chronicling that journey because, other people can do the same things. And, you just have to lay the foundations. You have to make the connections and, things work out. So through my Mortgage Talks, I always try to chronicle that, bring on great guests that are of great mindsets. And that's where it starts. It's the mindset, right? I mean, that without the mindset, that's the foundation that everything is built on. And if you don't have that concrete, good foundation going, then everything else is going to crumble. So, that's where it starts for me. On my podcast, there's so much of that, the mindset going on, what's going on in your business, what's the stories we're telling ourselves. And I've noticed when I'm coaching people, there's always, people have a lot of stories, but there's always themes to the stories, and you have to go to the theme of the story with others and the theme within yourself of what's going on and what's making you excel and what's holding you back. So just always sharing that platform with others to say, hey, you can do the same things. There's, nobody's special, awesome. Just trying to do special things.
When I started just trying to become an entrepreneur, and I thought I knew what I needed to know about mindset, right? Especially for military and law enforcement, and then I'd be sitting at a conference and they'd start talking about mindset and things like that. And that's when I would go to the back of the room, thinking, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Could not have been more wrong. Just the importance of the mindset, and like you said, it's foundation in the very beginning. But I wanted to dive in a little bit on, you mentioned like 3 months in, you're doing really well. 6 months in, you've been invited or asked to speak at a conference, and sharing about your success, or, share some things that helped you to even do that well in 3 months. And then even to get to that point in 6 months, what were some key things that we could apply to our business that you applied to yours?
Well, the first thing, I had to look at was, am I as good in sales as what I thought I was? That was number one. I was running Ashley Furniture before that. And, I was teaching salespeople and coaching. And so that's a lot of mentorship there. But am I as good as what I think I am? And that was the number one thing that I had to look at on sales. So I had to look at my dialogue, had to look at how I was going to approach people. And then really, who was I going to approach? Who was I going to call on? Because if you don't have a list, it's kind of hard to really grow your business. If you don't have a list, if you don't know your target audience, you don't know where you're going to get those deals from. So, obviously for me, I knew that, real estate agents were a great, source for that because they're a multiplier and they, you could partner with them. But, what is my value going to be to them? Well, how am I going to talk to them? Who do I need to call of those? So for me, it was just the number one thing is my dialogue there, is my mindset as far as how I'm serving people there, and what's my value, and then again, where am I going to pull this list from? Who am I going to call? And so when I kind of dived into that was huge. And so when I went to the conference, they told me get up and speak, and people were struggling, been in the mortgage industry for years, not really growing their business. And so they would call me and say, hey, what's going on? How are you doing this? And they said, I'm sitting down with real estate agents. And I said, okay, cool. Well, tell me about your conversation. And so at the company I was with, they had these big slogans, right? A lot of Kool-Aid being drank of how they operated their procedures and all that. Well, what I noticed is one after another of the salespeople, the selling mortgages, were calling me. All they were doing is regurgitating that process and how great it was. And I said, do you really think that they care that much about that? Does a real estate agent care that much about that? They don't even know you. They don't know whether they can trust you. And more importantly, it's about them, not you, and not your company. It's about them. So you're focusing everything on the company of what our company does, but nobody really cares until they know they can trust you. And more importantly, they want to know that you're listening to them. And so until you know what their needs are, then you can't really serve them, because there was and I got caught one time. So it was about the same time frame. And, I was doing a really good job of this, but I totally just botched a conversation. So 6 months in, I'm flying high. I'm getting this reputation of closing loans fast, doing a great job. A real estate agent calls me, never spoke to her. And she says, I heard you close loans fast. I'm like, oh yeah, I do. What's up? I'm all happy. I'm like, okay, this is a lay down. I'm going to get me some business. And I said, yeah, I do. Absolutely. And I go through this whole process of what we do, how quick we go, all this. And I'm just like ready for okay, let's start doing business. And she said, and this just stumped me at the time. She says, oh, I don't know if I want to close that fast. Like, what?
That's unexpected, right?
Yeah, all right. It was unexpected. It was like, whoa. So it threw me totally off. And I said, and then I'm like trying to get my footing. And I was, why is that? And she said, well, I just feel like there would be too many errors and people would feel rushed and people would, there'd be errors at the closing table, all this other stuff that it would just be really choppy, wouldn't be a smooth process. And I never got any deals from her. So all I had to do in that conversation was say, there are a couple things I could have said, right? I'll call her Pam. Her name was not Pam, but call her Pam. Pam, we have the ability to close fast, but what does fast mean for you? Oh, well, 30 days. If we can do it in 30 days or less, I'm good. Okay. So if we can close in 30 days or less, that's a good thing for you. If we can close on, before the time, great. Is there anything else that's important to you? Yeah, I like to have the docs there 3 days beforehand. Okay, so if we can close in 30 days or less on the contract date, but have your docs there in 3 days beforehand, and everybody feels like it's smooth, that's the most important thing to you. Have you had issues, and go into our pain, have you had issues with this not being the case with other lenders? absolutely had this. Okay, that was maybe a little problem for you. And of course, I always like to go little problem because I like them to say, it's a big problem. And they're like, no, it's been a big problem. I had this, right? Went into pain, went into what she wants. And guess what? We would have done deals together. It was a very easy conversation, but I just assumed everything. And then I started going into that, what we can do instead of what is most important to you. Just because she said, can you close fast, doesn't necessarily mean that was the most important thing to her. That could have been because once I started saying, hey, I can close it in 2 weeks and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, she felt overwhelmed. I feel that it was just going to be, we're going to be down everybody's throat trying to like close this thing before it was almost ready. And the borrower is just going to feel like, suffocated. Which wasn't really the case.
Interesting how you talk about, like right away, even in the beginning of the conversation, you're talking about adding value, right? Success by serving, I think, is how you said it. And I think even by losing this sale, and maybe numerous after that with that person, but I think that's probably led to so much more growth in you that you've probably closed more, since then. And it's hard not to focus on that. Oh man, I wish I'd have gotten that sale, but you've probably done more sales or closed more sales because of what you've learned from that. Correct. I wanted to ask you though, a couple of things there you mentioned. It's not about, it's not about you, it's about them, and you said no one cares until they know they can trust you. And until you know what their needs are, you can't serve them. It's many great points there. Could you elaborate a little on how you serve? Maybe anything else? You had some great questions. Ask them what's important to them. Ask them what issues they've had in the past. That's some great points. Anything else that would help us to better have just a servant mindset going into that conversation and being able to serve better?
Yeah. And great. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head with the, there was many more sales done because of that conversation, because it was just so, it was the illustrated point was right there. Most loan officers, most people would have just said, she's stupid. What kind of, she calls me and she can't close. This is no. And reflect, what can I have done better? Right. And I think that's when you come back to service and trust, it is about not leaning forward, but right in the middle. Like, what can we do? Asking those questions without trying to lead them to where you want them to go. Being very detached from the sale. If I called you, Whitney, to do business with you, I'm very detached from you. You send me business. That's just, and I think that it starts there because I have to identify first whether I can serve you because I can't serve everybody the way they want to be served, nor are we a fit? I've fired real estate agents before. I'm like, not a fit. I mean, you're just because you're cutting off communication with borrowers, all this other stuff. So I think it starts with being very detached from the sale. 100% is where it has to start, because if you lean forward and you're trying to just get that sale, you're trying to close instead of opening up conversations, then you're not going to have the ability to serve or know where the service should come from, because everybody has a different, something different they need. I mean, most of it's similar, but there's a little nuances to that of what people need. So I think that's the biggest thing. One thing I'll say is that there's this old thing. It says, who do they know, like, and trust? They don't necessarily have to like you or love you. Like, you don't have to have somebody, you don't have to love, because I don't have to love or like so much who I do business with. I have to trust is the number one key. Trust that they can get me where I need to go. I need to get to the closing table on time, to serve the clients like they need to, et cetera. So I think that's one thing that people need to really put on a lot of more of the back burner, because you can build relationships out of trust. It's cool if you want to like people, but people go way to the like a little bit too much, because Whitney, you can like me, but you may not trust that I can do a good job. There are so many loan officers that are buddies with the real estate agent, and I'm getting deals from them. and what they're hanging out with them because they don't really trust that they're the one that can get them the service that they need. So it's more about trust than anything. It's like kind of like a man getting in the friend zone, right? A little bit, you get in the friend zone with a woman, right? It's cool. I'm not saying you can't be friends with people, but the trust is the number one key. They have to know that you can deliver the result that they need.
Anyway, I mean, how do you, I guess, express that, hey, I can get you that result in a manner or enough that they know they can trust you in that, even though you may not be the one they're playing golf with on the week. They may be playing golf on the weekend with your competitor, right? But they're actually doing business with you. How do you gain that kind of trust?
Again, it's open dialogue, and I don't tell them anything. One question I love to ask people is, when we're talking and we're having these conversations, and I have a book over here that I put together for it's called Power 4. It's got the sales dialogue. And one of those things in there is when you're just asking those good questions is that you're going to have the presentation is very small. So a lot of people go into presentation, but I'm going to see what's important to you. I'm going to have a small I like to go into some story too, because stories are very powerful. That's going to resonate with people. They're going to remember that. But at the end, when I'm moving towards that, I call it the commitment question is, Whitney, do you feel like there's any, benefit to using me? And when they say, hey, I like your communication, I like this. Okay, why is that so important to you? When they start telling you that, they're telling themselves that. I don't tell them anything. They'll tell themselves why that's important to them, why they want to use me, why they think it's important. That's the biggest key. When they tell themselves, that's when you really move the needle.
Nice. No, that's interesting to think about what you're hearing. I mean, they're telling themselves that. Bedford's Cost Segregation specializes in generating significant tax savings via their engineering-based studies for commercial real estate clients nationwide. Founded in 2002, Bedford is one of the largest independently owned cost segregation providers in the country, with over 14,000 studies completed to date in multiple offices throughout. The most important decision ownership can make when incorporating cost segregation within their real estate portfolio is selecting the right provider. With only 43 certified cost segregation professionals nationwide, Bedford is proud to employ 8 of them and takes the quality of their people as seriously as their studies. Every certified cost segregation professional has passed a rigorous test combining knowledge of technical engineering issues, legal tax issues, ethics standards, and requires a strict level of prior work experience to be eligible. Bottom line, not all cost segregation providers are created equal. So be sure to take the decision seriously from the beginning to protect yourself for years to come. Please contact Bedford's Business Development Director, Frank Judici, to learn more. Adam, looking back, on your success in that first 3 to 6 months, and even up till now, anything you would have done differently? And of course, in our business, our audience that most are trying to speak to our investors, right? Mm-hmm. That's that list we're trying to gain, like you were talking about earlier, and trying to, gain that level of trust. It's so important, right? And I can see that exactly in us to what you're saying. Like, they may not like me, but hey, if I can perform and they can trust that I can, grow their returns, the way they expect or better, then that's what they care about. They trust in that process. But anything you would have done differently, looking back, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I would have definitely worked my database more. I went the first couple of years, I really just, my past clients, I didn't call them. I naturally was in front of them on some of them because, be on my Facebook, we'd have some conversations, but there were so many left out. And especially we talk about the like, I just talked about the trust and like. The ones that really I resonated with, I was in front of. We're really we became kind of, buddies or, just, friends, we're friends on Facebook. Those are the ones that I was in front of, but I was not in front of the other ones that did trust me. because we did a good job. But I didn't do a good enough job of staying in front of them. I would have stayed in front of them more. And I'm not talking about CRMs, because CRMs are, I mean, I'm not saying they're important, but they're mostly lame too. Okay. Like it's, you're not going to get a ton out of that, that you won't get as much, let's just say that out of that as you will calling them, out of direct mailing them, having good conversations with them, putting them in a Facebook group, doing something that's going to stay in front of them. And I didn't do a good enough job of that. That's number one for sure that I didn't do, that I'm, now do a way better job. And of course that's something that's really good for real estate agents when I'm telling them, hey, after we close, I'm going to stay in front of them. We'll get deals back from this, and we're asking for business. So that's the number one thing. I would have added team earlier. I would have started adding team members earlier for sure. Now I have a team that does most of the stuff, and I barely do anything I don't want to do. The number one thing I did in my business was I hired a problem solver. Hired a problem solver that she solves the problems. I don't argue with the underwriter. I'm not going to go back and forth with the underwriter. I coached her up, and she handles the problem. So what I would say out there is figure out what you don't want to do, hire for it. What you do want to do, if it coincides with making money and you're the only one that can do it, that's what you do. And just keep trying to dive into that and then hire for the rest.
What's your biggest challenge right now in growing or scaling even bigger?
Well, that's that right now, that's what I'm doing. Going into, like I said, a new state and starting over. I mean, literally don't have anybody I know here. So the challenge is for me right now is a lot of mental, because I have this big book of business in Kentucky and I continue to get that rolling, and I'm still doing good. And the inner voice says, oh, you're cool. You just got 7 people apply for a mortgage today. In Kentucky, it's like, no, you got to grow into Georgia and stay on there. Because the first go around, I didn't have any ships. All my ships were, like they talk about, burn the ships, right? I didn't have ships. Now I got all these, I got all these ships. So I gotta have to try to burn those ships and put myself in a mindset that, hey, I have to grow this business no matter what. Which is why I put it on my podcast as well, to try to hone me into not going back.
It's interesting, like how you're like putting yourself in a different place, or even moving to really stretch yourself, right? You're going to stretch your mindset, you're going to stretch your processes, you're going to stretch your systems and your team, all those things, and you're all going to grow, no doubt, and be better because of it. And then potentially even, it won't be as difficult to go into other states then, after that. Right. So what about any daily habits that you have, Adam, that you are disciplined about that have helped you achieve success?
Yeah. I go back to my Power 4, which is energy, prospecting, marketing, relationships. And so the number one thing is energy. I'm always like, where do I get my energy from today? If you do not have energy, you don't have sales energy, you don't have energy in general, then you're just not going to succeed like you need to. So that I always look at, where am I getting my energy? It could be, I'm not talking about from Red Bulls or anything. I'm talking about from sustainable energy. So if I'm waning on something, is my why, is my vision aligning? Do I need to work on that today? So that's what I really always look for, is like, where's my energy? If my energy level is down in some way, is it physical, just physical energy? Did I not get enough sleep? Did I not do this? What did I do? Do I need to meditate? That is the number one key for me. And I think for really anybody to set up their day. But my keys are just, I'm doing something on all 4 of those facets every single day and having focused time. I say this, it's not a work-life balance problem you have. It's a focused life balance problem you have. So you don't have to have a ton of time. Like I've coached, loan officers that are actually really growing, trying to push back their hours, doing a condensed time. But I've asked this question a different loan officers, hey, listen, if you could only have 1 hour with your spouse a night for the rest of your life, could it be a better relationship than you have right now? And the answer is always yes. And why is that? Because you're super focused on what you do, the planning behind it. So it's not the hours. When it says like The Rock is the hardest worker in the room, it doesn't say the longest worker in the room. It says the hardest worker in the room. It means you're focused when you need to be focused, what you need to be focused on, and not being stuck and not moving forward in actionable steps and just waiting on. So that's what I got.
No, that's great advice right there. Everyone has the same amount of time every day, right? Most will say, I'm too busy, or I can't get those things done because I'm so busy over here. Well, yeah. What are those things you're focused on? Is that the highest producing tasks? I love how one of the things you said too, you would have started adding on team members earlier on also. And I think that's so wise. I'm always talking about at least finding a virtual assistant, somebody that can help take some of those tasks off your plate so you can focus on those higher dollar items with that focus time. Right. But what about how do you like to give back?
I like to give back. I mean, for me, I love to, one of my ways of giving back is the coaching. And I've coached people for free before. I mean, I obviously make money coaching as well, but, I've definitely given that out. I'm always, for mentorship, if somebody just has a question, they need help, I'm always pretty available to have that conversation without going, hey, you have to sign up for my coaching to answer a couple of questions. My way of giving back is the podcast. My way of giving back is having those conversations with people if they reach out to me without trying to sign them up for anything. Because I do want if somebody really wants to grow, then I want to help them. I had a loan officer come and drive like 4 hours one time to come see me. He's like, hey, can I just pick your brain? It's like, absolutely. That meant a lot because for him to be able to do that. And so, yeah, we sat down for probably an hour and a half and I just gave abundantly. And that was good because most people won't do that. Most people won't just put themselves out there or even ask that. And for me, that's if someone's out there, they want help, I'll try to help them.
That's awesome, Adam. I'm grateful to have met you and have you on the show. I think there's so many great tips that you've left us with today and added a ton of value to the listeners and myself. But just thinking through, how you scaled so fast and really having the servant mindset and gaining that level of trust, like you talked about, even how you wish you'd have scaled your team faster, and even hiring somebody that's your problem solver right now, thinking through where our focus is. I mean, if we can just do a few of those things, we're going to move faster, right, in the right direction. And so grateful to have met you. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Adam Hires, HIRES. You can look me up on most social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I've got Mortgage Talks on iTunes, Spotify. That if you're not a mortgage loan officer, you're a real estate agent, you're a financial advisor, you run a small team, any of those kind of things, you can apply that to your business. There's some great entrepreneurs that are on there. It's not just mortgage loan officers that are actually on my show. Actually, there's more non-mortgage loan officers on my show because I like different perspectives. So, check it out. Hope everybody likes it when they come across it.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.